Hello and greetings, my friend. Welcome back to my video series on fitness made a heck of a lot simpler to help you achieve a state of fitness independence to effectively just solve this whole fitness thing once and for all. I'm your humble host, Matt Schifferly, and today we are in the RDP kitchen because I'm going to share with you the simple single strategy that I use to both almost effortlessly have a consistently very healthy diet and also manage my body fat levels with almost no effort, no work, no cardio, no diets, and a lot less toil and stress on body, mind, and lifestyle. And this strategy that I'm going to share with you, if you're new to the channel, you don't know what it is, but I'm sure a lot of people already know what it is so simple and so versatile that I once made it work for me at 3 a.m. when I was driving cross country at a Waffle House. Now, you know you've got a good dietary strategy when you can even make it work and stick to your diet when you're in a grubby, greasy, middle of nowhere Waffle House. Now, before we jump into it, though, we have to understand why this works, though, because there are a lot of myths surrounding body fat management and healthy eating that are essentially causing you to waste a ton of time and work and holding you back. And the first myth is the fact that our fitness culture loves to propagate this idea that eating healthy and managing body fat is supposed to be this endless toil. It's supposed to be a struggle. If you're fighting food and fighting the scale and fighting your own body endlessly, then that means you're on the straight and narrow. And that's a myth that I fell for. I thought I'm supposed to be stressed about food. I'm supposed to feel anxious every time I walk into a restaurant. I'm supposed to be anxious about every little perceived change in my body fat levels. I'm supposed to be miserable, in other words. And that's the message our fitness culture often likes to propagate, largely because it makes it a lot easier to sell you stuff you don't need. It has nothing to do with your results. It's all about them selling you crap like supplements and diets and programs and all these other things. But the reality is, true success with a healthy diet and body fat management is about saying, yeah, I got those things taken care of. I no longer need to really work at it. I no longer need to put any effort into it. I'm good. Thank you very much. I'm going to go and have a great life. That's the true success I'm talking about here. The other thing is it's often shown it's like, well, it's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be this endless struggle, but it's also supposed to be something that becomes a whole lifestyle in and of itself, which is another way of saying it's supposed to take so much time and energy and effort that it's supposed to take over your life. But we now live in a time and a place in society where we don't need to do that anymore. Imagine what our hunter-gatherer ancestors might think of us right now. They're like, oh man, you've got so much access to food. It's so relatively cheap because, inflation and all that kind of crazy stuff. But even so, it's like we don't have to spend the majority of our time and effort just feeding ourselves. And yet we still are managing to do just that because we're making it 10 times harder on ourselves with diets and exhausting exercise programs because, again, our fitness culture is telling us that this is the way. It's necessary. And that's what I fell for. And I even took it a little further than I probably should have because I developed disordered eating habits and obsessive compulsive exercise habits because I thought the more I'm struggling, the more I'm suffering, and the more stress I have on body, mind, and lifestyle, the more I'm achieving. And that's not at all true. It was, if anything, holding me back. So what can we do? What's the simple strategy? Well, the strategy is, as I often talk about, my 3P strategy. Every time you sit down to a meal, observe your 3 Ps. You do that, you're 80% of the way there for everything you're ever going to need for healthy eating and body fat management. And I keep putting those things as separate because they are completely separate goals. They're not one and the same. Just because you're lean doesn't mean your diet's healthy. Just because your diet's healthy doesn't mean you're going to be lean and lose fat. We have to always make sure that they're totally separate goals that have cross influence. They're heavily correlated, but they are not the same. We can't achieve one with the same as the other. Anyway, 3P works to influence both. So every time you sit down to a meal, that's the first thing is it is a meal. You're not just subsisting off of Doritos and, Dr. Pepper and things like that. Because a lot of times when people are struggling with health and body fat management, sometimes I find that they're like just not eating meals. They're just getting whatever they can when they fill up for gas at the local gas station kind of thing. And I understand there's economic issues at stake here. There's food deserts and things like that. But ideally, you're sitting down, plate, knife and fork, meal kind of idea, if possible. This strategy works too if you just run and you go grab a sandwich or something. But this is what we're looking for, is a meal that you're going after. P number 1, of course, is protein. You should look at your meal and say, yep, there's a good honking big chunk of protein here. It can be animal-based, it can be plant-based, it can be a protein shake, whatever you want, but it should be very obvious, like, yep, there's a good honking source of protein. When people are like, how many grams of protein? How many this or that? If you're just saying, yeah, a lot of this meal is protein, you're probably covered right then and there. The second P is plant. Think beyond steamed broccoli here. Vegetables, fruits, teas, herbs, spices, nuts, those sorts of things. Something that grew out of the ground. Just as you have a big honking chunk of protein, you have a big honking chunk of something that grew out of the ground. Plants, whatever you want. This is all very versatile. Just whatever foods you like kind of thing. But it should be obvious, like, yep, that's definitely some plant. And then the third P, which glues it all together, is portion. Portion refers to the portions of your protein, your plant, again, good size, and whatever else. And that whatever else is whatever else you want to put in. Right? If you got pasta, you got rice, you got beans, you got bread. Sometimes I'll look at it and be like, yeah, I've got beer or whatever. It's just the wild card. Put in whatever else you want. If you've got a good protein, good plant, and good taking up most of your plate, that can be whatever. You don't need to like weigh it out or anything like that. Because if you've got roughly 30% or a good chunk of it protein and plant, then the other thing can be whatever you like. And then it's portion of the entire meal, of course. Eating to satisfy. Satisfy hunger. A lot of old cultures about health regard, well, how much should you eat? And they talk about eating to like 80% fullness and things of that nature. I just say eat to satisfy. Don't eat to the point where you're like, oh gosh, I can't believe I ate the whole thing. I'm all tired and sluggish and everything. But at the same time, not keeping it so low that you're like, oh man, really feeling pretty peckish after dinner here kind of thing. Eat to satisfy your hunger. And that's how you have a healthy diet, is you're satisfying your fundamental appetites. It's not about the food you eat. It's not about avoiding certain foods either. I'm not going to tell someone, oh yeah, you avoid processed foods, then your diet's healthy. No, because you're satisfying your appetites. If you're still hungry, you're having trouble with metabolic support, which sometimes happens when clients come and see me and they're like just slogging through the workout and they have no energy. I'm like, well, your diet's not supporting you very well. It's not healthy. I'm like, yeah, but I'm eating, all organic and all clean and everything. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. You're exhausted. If your diet's not supporting your metabolic needs from your workouts and your lifestyle, it's not healthy. And then, of course, your nutritional support, same thing. You need your nutrients, obviously, vitamins, minerals, water, your macronutrients and stuff. And then the third one is, of course, hedonic support. Food is supposed to satisfy your social appetites to some degree, your emotional appetites, your cravings even. And again, our fitness culture will tell you that's not right, that you're supposed to be craving foods, that you're supposed to be anxious about food. You're supposed to be guilty if you eat bad foods, that you're supposed to spend a lot of your energy attention at a party avoiding the dessert tray or whatever. This is not a healthy approach to food. Full stop. It's not good for you. I did it for many years. I know. And it's impossible to not be an emotional eater. We human beings are fundamentally emotional creatures. 80 to 90% of everything we do in life is done for emotional reasons. The logic and rational side of our brain is just making the things happen that our, monkey mind is telling us to do, kind of steering the ship a little bit. And food is no exception to that. Emotional eating gets a bad rap because people are like, I'm an emotional eater. It's like, yeah, so is everyone else. There's no such thing as non-emotional eating. You're not an autonomous robot. So food should be satisfying your emotional needs as well. And it largely boils down to understanding what your actual appetites and needs really are. Because the reason why a lot of us overeat and overconsume and have a quote unhealthy diet is because we don't understand what those needs are. We plow through an entire pounder bag of M&Ms because we don't really want M&Ms. We want to not be bored or stressed, or we're dealing with anxiousness from work or whatever. So we're not dealing with that. So we're trying to use food as a substitute to overcome those emotional needs, and which is why you endlessly eat. This is another reason why processed food often gets a bad rap in our fitness culture, because it's not very satisfying. It doesn't taste as good, it doesn't have as much fiber, it doesn't have as much nutrients, and it doesn't often have as much protein to it. So, of course, it's not very satisfying, which is why you can eat 5 cheeseburgers in a row, because it's not very satisfying. And that's why you overeat the stuff. But when you focus on more wholesome, satisfying, enjoyable food, then, you don't need nearly as much, and you're more satisfying. Same thing, the 3 Ps take care of weight management as well. There's a very heavy correlation between protein intake and being able to manage your body fat, between plant-based food intake and managing body fat, particularly with fiber and things like that. And then, of course, portion control as well. The vast majority of our ability to influence our calorie balance comes down to just simple portion control. Lots of times, it's not so much about having one diet versus another diet and avoiding certain foods. Many of us have perfectly fine diets. We just need to adjust the volume settings a little bit. Increase it, decrease it. Sometimes when people are like, I want to put on muscle, I want to build up. It's like, okay, make sure you're getting plant protein and make your portion sizes bigger. Just more of what you normally eat. You have 2 eggs for breakfast, make it 4. If you're having, a sandwich, tell them extra cheese and extra veggies and stuff. Just bulk it up a little bit. More of what you normally do. If you're looking to decrease body fat, same thing. Shrink it down a little bit. Particularly going after the things that aren't protein and plant-based. Those are usually kind of the more fail-safe foods sort of thing. So shrinking down everything else that you have. And again, I'm not saying this alone is everything you need, but it's going to be the bulk of everything you need. And from then on out, it's just a matter of tweaks. Tweaks to what are the protein sources you're eating? How much of the protein source? What are you doing for your plant-based kind of thing? What are you doing for the other stuff and the overall portion of the entire meal? Sometimes when people say, well, that's meals, but what about snacks? Simple. When you're having your snacks, try your best to make that snack about either protein or plants or both. One of my favorites that my girlfriend taught me is a good snack, cheese stick and an apple. Really good satisfying. I got fiber, I got sweet, I got fat, I've got some protein in there. It's not a lot, but that combination goes a long way for satisfaction. But it's also not super calorie dense and stuff, and it just kind of takes the edge off. Apple and cheese stick. Beautiful. Wonderful. There's a lot of room to color in between, this format. What kind of protein source? What do you like to eat? How do you like to get your protein? What do you like to cook? What do you like to find at the cafeteria at work and stuff? What are the protein sources there? What about the plant sources stuff? You can do this any way that you like. And again, it's so easy. I was able to do it at a Waffle House at 3 a.m. when I was driving cross country. I sat down and I'm like, okay, first check, protein, eggs. Eggs are on the menu at the Waffle House. Good. 2 side orders of eggs. Great. All right. Plants. Oh, they've got a side dish of fruit and I'll have a tea. Okay. Plant taken care of. And then whatever else is in the middle, of course, I had a waffle. I should have ordered 2 or 3 because I thought they were going to be like these big, thick Belgian waffles, but they're tiny little flapjack things. Like, oh man, that wasn't quite enough. So I still was a little bit hungry after, but I was exhausted. I went back to the hotel. So I got my protein. I got my plant. Portion should have probably been a little higher, but hey, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. And that's the point of this, is that no, you don't need to get all 3 right every single time, but being consciously aware or even just paying attention to it for 3 seconds at each meal will largely just keep you on track for managing both body fat and satisfying your fundamental appetites to ensure your diet is healthy. And you just do that and eventually it just becomes habit and it becomes automatic. And even if you're like, well, I was at this Holiday Inn and they didn't have anything for protein, so I had some flapjacks and an apple. It's like, okay, portion in control. You got a bit of a plant, okay, maybe not much for protein, but hey, again, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Don't worry about like, how do I make up? How do I undo the damage later? Don't worry about it. Just stay on track with those 3 things for as much as you can for your meals and your snacks, and your diet, your weight management will largely take care of itself. And then it's just a matter of tweaks from then on out. And is that enough? Well, for a lot of people, it will be. You may find it's like, yeah, but I need something in addition to that. I may need more. And that's fine. That's great. I'm not saying that these approaches in the simple fitness program are enough on their own all the time. I'm just saying they're most of what you need most of the time. And then it's just about filling in the gaps however you see fit. So don't forget to check out the video that I also posted on my entire approach on strength and conditioning with using little more than just the floor. I'll put a link down below in the description. In the next episode, I'm going to be discussing the often completely ignored and misused aspects of recreation and curation of mental health. Because when it comes to strength and conditioning, it's more than just what the body's going through. It's also here for the mind. And let's be honest, this is something that we need more and more every day as, the world starts to turn asunder. So see you there in that video. Talk to you then. Until then, be fit and live free.